Welcome to page 96 and 97 of the lab manual. These two pages cover the vertebrae, the sacrum, and the coccyx. There are 7 cervical vertebrae, 12 thoracic vertebrae, and 5 lumbar vertebrae. We'll begin by looking at the cervical vertebrae. The atlas, the first cervical vertebrae, C1, articulates with the occipital condyles of the skull. It is the only vertebrae without a body. It has a very large vertebral foramen through which the dens of the axis protrudes at the anterior end. It is also the only vertebrae that does not have a spinous process. Instead, it has a posterior tubercle. A posterior tubercle. The axis, the second cervical vertebrae, C2, articulates with the atlas. It has a prominent tooth-like process called the dens that projects superiorly from the body of the vertebrae and fits into the anterior portion of the vertebral foramen of the atlas. All 7 cervical vertebrae have a vertebral foramen that is larger than the body, with the exception of the atlas, which has no body. The spinous process of the cervical vertebrae, except for the atlas, is short and bifid, or forked. Another distinctive feature of the cervical vertebrae are the transverse foramina. 2 additional openings in the transverse processes. The thoracic vertebrae are a bit larger than the cervical vertebrae, so they can support more weight, more body weight. The vertebral foramen is round, and the body is usually heart-shaped. The thoracic vertebrae become larger as they get closer to the lumbar vertebrae. They have a distinctively long, slender, or triangular spinous process. The transverse processes are long, thick, and strong. When viewed from the side, thoracic vertebrae resemble an elephant's trunk. The lumbar vertebrae have large, thick bodies to support much more body weight. The large body has a wide oval shape. The vertebral foramen is small and somewhat triangular. The spinous process is thick, broad, flattened, and rounded at the tip. When viewed from the side, the lumbar vertebrae resemble a moose. The sacrum is a large triangular bone that articulates with the 5th lumbar vertebra. It consists of 5 fused vertebrae. It is concave on the anterior side to give increased capacity to the pelvic cavity. There are 4 pairs of sacral foramina for the passage of spinal nerves. The dorsal posterior side of the sacrum is convex. At the top of the dorsal side is the superior sacral canal, which forms a passageway for the spinal cord. At the inferior end is the sacral hiatus, which is an opening for the exit of inferior spinal nerves. The coccyx consists of 4 or 5 fused vertebrae below the sacrum. They diminish in size from the 1st to the 4th. The coccyx is also known as the tailbone. And this completes page 96 and 97 of the lab manual.